The mist hung low over the mining colony like a heavy curtain, making the air feel cold and thick. Captain Elias Thorne adjusted the strap of his gear and squinted through the fog. He had been to many dangerous planets before, but this one had a quiet, almost watchful danger to it. Even the wind seemed to whisper warnings that only the cautious could hear. The colony itself was small, a cluster of metal buildings with flashing lights, pipes, and ventilation tubes stretching like veins across the rocky surface. Human miners worked alongside a few alien species, their languages mixing into a strange, almost musical chatter. It was a fragile peace. Everyone knew the planet was beautiful but unforgiving. Elias had been sent to protect the colony. His job was simple in theory: keep the miners safe from the wildlife and any unforeseen dangers. In practice, it was exhausting. This planet was known for its massive predators and strange territorial creatures. Rumors spread fast, and the latest one was about a monster that had been seen near the northern ridge. The miners spoke of glowing eyes in the fog, strange sounds like whispers carried by the wind, and shadows that moved too fast for any normal creature. Most dismissed it as fear or exaggeration, but Elias had learned long ago to trust what he saw with his own eyes. "Captain," a voice called out. It was Lyra, the young alien girl who had joined the colony a few weeks ago. She was small, her skin pale green, and her eyes a deep violet. Her species had a natural curiosity, and she loved studying life forms that humans often feared. She carried a small scanner and a notebook, always ready to record observations. "What is it, Lyra?" Elias asked, his voice steady despite the chill. "I think it's close," she said softly. "The readings are unusual. There's movement, but not like any normal animal. Something intelligent, maybe." Elias nodded. "Then we'll find out. But stay close. These creatures don't follow the rules we expect." They moved carefully along the rocky path, their boots crunching on loose gravel. The fog was thick and every sound seemed amplified. The drip of water from the rocks, the distant howl of unknown animals, even their own breathing. Lyra's scanner beeped softly, showing irregular energy signatures nearby. "See that?" she whispered, pointing to a set of massive footprints in the soft ground. The prints were at least twice the size of a human foot with claw marks that dug into the earth. Elias crouched to examine them. "They're fresh," he said, tracing the outline with his finger. "Whatever made these is huge, and it's close." Lyra's eyes widened. "Do you think it's the monster?" Elias gave a small nod. "Could be. Stay calm. Most creatures react to fear. If we panic, we give it a reason to attack." They continued, moving slowly through the mist. Shadows seemed to dance at the edges of their vision, shapes shifting that disappeared when they looked directly. The tension grew with every step. Suddenly the fog parted just enough for them to see something. A massive shape, taller than any human, covered in chitinous armor that glinted faintly in the dim light. Its eyes glowed softly, golden and intelligent. It didn't move aggressively. Instead, it paused and looked directly at them. Elias froze. Lyra froze. The creature's gaze was heavy, almost studying them as if it were deciding whether they were a threat. For a moment the world felt still. Then, surprisingly, the creature stepped back. Not out of fear, there was no trembling in its body, but out of recognition, almost respect. Even Lyra's curiosity couldn't hide her shock. It stepped back, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Why?" Elias slowly lowered his weapon, keeping his eyes on the creature. "I don't know, but that reaction is unusual. It's not attacking. That means it's intelligent, or it knows something about us." They stayed like that for several minutes, eyes locked with the creatures. In the fog, shapes moved. Smaller creatures, perhaps young of the same species, curious and cautious. None came closer. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. "Do you think it can understand us?" Lyra asked, her voice a mix of fear and excitement. "Or sense something about you?" Elias considered this. Maybe. Sometimes creatures can sense more than we realize, They feel emotions, intentions, honesty. Perhaps it sees we mean no harm. The tension didn't leave immediately. Every sound in the forest felt louder. A distant roar echoed, reminding them that the planet was full of dangers they hadn't yet seen. But despite that, Elias felt a strange calm. He knew this encounter could change everything about the way humans and this planet's wildlife interacted. "We should retreat slowly," he said finally. "No sudden moves." They backed away carefully, never breaking eye contact with the creature. Lyra's scanner continued to beep softly, showing fluctuating energy readings that puzzled her. "Captain, it's like it's communicating. Somehow," she whispered. "With its eyes or presence." Elias nodded. "Yes. And that makes it more dangerous and more fascinating. We need to understand it before anyone else finds it." As they moved, Lyra couldn't stop looking back. The creature paused once more, its eyes following them until they disappeared into the fog. For a moment she felt as if it had made a choice, not just to step back but to watch, to wait, and perhaps to trust. By the time they returned to the safety of the colony, word of their encounter had already spread. Miners gathered around, whispering in excitement and fear. Some wanted to hunt the creature, others wanted to avoid the northern ridge entirely. Elias addressed the crowd, his tone calm and authoritative. "This is not a threat yet, but it's intelligent. We do not know its motives. We will observe, learn, and proceed carefully. Any rash action could provoke a danger we are not ready for." The miners murmured among themselves, some nodding. In agreement, others skeptical. Lyra took careful notes, her mind racing with possibilities. An intelligent, massive creature that recognized humans as non-threats. This could change the understanding of life on the planet entirely. Later that night, as Elias sat in his quarters, he couldn't stop thinking about the creature's eyes. They were unlike anything he had seen, curious, assessing, and almost human in their expression. There was a connection there, fragile but undeniable. Lyra joined him shortly after, her notebook filled with sketches and observations. "Captain, it's remarkable. The way it reacted, I've never seen anything like it. It's like it respected you, or understood you." Elias looked at her, a small smile on his face. "Then our job is clear. We learn from it, we protect it, and maybe in time we understand it." Outside, the fog thickened again, hiding the northern ridge and all the secrets it contained. But for the first time in a long while, Elias felt a spark of hope. Humanity had always been brave, always curious. And here, on this misty, dangerous planet, it seemed that courage and curiosity could bridge worlds, between humans, aliens, and creatures beyond imagination. As the colony lights flickered against the mist, Lyra whispered almost to herself, "I wonder what it thinks of us, really." Elias simply stared out into the fog, feeling the weight of responsibility, the thrill of discovery, and the promise of something extraordinary. Whatever came next, one thing was certain. The encounter on the northern ridge was only the beginning, and somewhere in the mist, the golden eyes watched them back, patient, intelligent, and full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. The next morning, the fog still clung to the northern ridge, stubborn and thick. Captain Elias Thorne checked his equipment carefully, making sure his gear was ready. Lyra approached, her notebook and scanner in hand. She looked nervous but determined. "We should go back," she said, her violet eyes glinting in the dim light. "We need more data. We can't just leave it alone." Elias nodded. "I agree. But this time we stay cautious. Remember, it's not a normal animal. It's intelligent. Treat it like we would a fellow sentient being." They moved quietly, their boots pressing softly against the damp ground. Every shadow seemed to move just a little faster than it should. The northern ridge was alive with sounds, low growls, rustling leaves, and the distant snap of twigs. Lyra's scanner beeped again, and she pointed to the readings. "It's close, and it's not alone. There's at least one more energy signature, maybe two. They're different from the smaller wildlife we've seen. Elias nodded. Good. That means we can study their behavior in a group. Keep your eyes open. As they climbed higher, a shape emerged from the fog. The massive creature from the previous day stood in their path. Its golden eyes glowed, and its body was tense but not aggressive. Elias froze, letting Lyra see that. He meant no sudden moves. The creature tilted its head slightly as if examining them. Elias noticed small muscles in its chest moving rhythmically, almost like a deep, calm breathing pattern. Lyra's scanner beeped rapidly, showing fluctuations in the creature's energy. It's communicating. Somehow, she whispered. Through its presence, or its energy. I've never seen readings like this. Elias slowly lowered his weapon, keeping his gaze fixed on the creature. It's intelligent, and it recognizes something in us. Stay calm. For several minutes they stood there motionless. Then, surprisingly, the creature stepped closer, but not aggressively. It stopped just a few meters away and observed them, silently. The fog around it swirled, making it appear even larger and more powerful. Lyra swallowed hard. Captain, it's not attacking. But why isn't it running either? Elias considered this. It's assessing us. Intelligent creatures judge threats differently. It may sense honesty, bravery, or something else in our behavior. That's why it stepped back yesterday. We didn't threaten it. Today, it's testing us further. Suddenly, a second creature appeared from the fog. It was smaller, but equally imposing, moving with a grace that belied its size. Elias's instincts told him to be ready, but he stayed calm. Panic would only make them appear dangerous. The two creatures watched them silently. Their eyes seemed almost human in their curiosity and awareness. Elias noticed subtle movements, slight shifts of weight, flaring of nostrils, small gestures of limbs that suggested they were communicating with each other in ways humans couldn't immediately understand. Lyra's voice was quiet, filled with awe. They're organized. They're working together. They're not just animals. They're a community. And they're deciding what we are. Elias nodded. Then we give them a reason to see us as allies, not threats. He stepped forward slowly, hands open, palms visible. We are not here to harm you, he said calmly, his voice steady. We only want to understand. The larger creature's eyes narrowed slightly, then widened. It tilted its head again, almost as if considering his words. Lyra's scanner beeped furiously, recording rapid energy changes. It's reacting to your tone, your calmness, she said. It recognizes something in you. Respect, perhaps even courage. Elias didn't move further. He knew that the creatures were testing him and Lyra. Any sudden action could provoke them, and he wanted to build trust. Slowly, he crouched slightly, a gesture of non-aggression. Lyra mirrored him instinctively, her fear replaced by fascination. Time seemed to stretch. The fog swirled around them, and the sounds of the ridge grew distant, as if the world itself had paused. Then, in a sudden, fluid movement, the larger creature stepped forward, closing the distance just enough to let them feel its presence. Elias's heart raced, but his expression remained calm. He extended a hand carefully, not toward its face, but in a gesture of greeting. The creature paused, studying his hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, it lowered its massive head and touched his hand gently with its claw. It was a touch full of weight, not violence. Lyra gasped softly, her eyes wide. It trusts you. Or at least, it's testing you differently now. The second creature moved closer, watching intently. Elias noticed patterns in their movements, subtle signals, like a language of gestures. He realized they were assessing, not just him but both of them together. Trust was not given lightly. They respond to honesty and calmness, Elias whispered, and perhaps bravery. But we have to respect them completely. Lyra scribbled notes furiously. This is incredible. They're intelligent. They can make decisions. And they're huge, powerful enough to destroy us if they wanted. Elias nodded. Which is why respect is more important than fear. They could teach us about their world. If we show them we can be trusted. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed across the ridge. The creatures stiffened, ears and muscles reacting immediately. Elias's body tensed, ready for a fight, but the creatures didn't flee. Instead, they moved as a unit, protective of their territory but not hostile toward humans. They're territorial, Lyra said softly. But they won't attack unless provoked. They're disciplined. Elias watched them carefully. This is remarkable. On many planets, humans are seen as invaders or threats, but here, our courage and honesty may be recognized. This is humanity at its best. Curiosity, bravery, and respect for life. The creatures circled slowly, never breaking eye contact with Elias or Lyra. Their movements were deliberate, showing intelligence and awareness. Lyra realized that every gesture, every shift of weight had meaning. They were communicating silently among themselves. Elias whispered, "We need to learn their signals, understand their behavior. If we can communicate with them even without words, we could build a bridge between humans and this world." The largest creature stepped closer again, its massive head lowering to meet Elias's eyes. There was no threat, only observation, like a mirror reflecting understanding. Lyra felt a shiver of awe. Even she, accustomed to studying alien life, had never seen anything like this. "They're testing us," she said quietly. "But not for attack, for trust. They want to see if we're worthy of their presence." Elias nodded. "Then we give them a reason to see us as allies. No sudden moves, no fear, only respect." Minutes passed, feeling like hours. The fog shifted, revealing glimpses of the ridge, jagged rocks, and strange vegetation. Small, glowing, insects floated in the air, adding a surreal beauty to the tense scene. The creatures observed everything with the same intensity as Elias and Lyra. Finally, the largest creature stepped back slightly, almost as if acknowledging their behavior. Lyra's scanner recorded a sudden stabilization of energy readings. The creatures were calm again. "They're allowing us to observe," Lyra whispered. "We haven't crossed the line, but we're close." Elias exhaled slowly. "Good. Now we retreat carefully. Let them return to their routines. We'll need more preparation if we want to learn from them fully." They backed away slowly, keeping their eyes on the creatures. The fog seemed to follow them, hiding and revealing glimpses of the ridge. For a moment, the world felt suspended, between danger and wonder. As they returned to the safety of the colony, Elias reflected on what had happened. These creatures were not just animals. They were intelligent, powerful, and aware. They could sense humanity's qualities, and they had chosen not to attack. Lyra was silent for a moment, then said, "Captain, this is beyond any research I've ever done. If we can understand them, it could change everything about how humans interact with alien life." Elias nodded. "Yes, and that's why we must be careful. They are powerful, but they are also vulnerable in ways we don't yet understand. Respect and patience are our tools." Later that evening, Elias and Lyra met to review their observations. Lyra's notebook was filled with sketches of the creatures' movements, energy readings, and notes about their behavior. Elias studied the patterns carefully. "They respond to calmness, courage, and honesty," he said, "and they communicate silently with gestures. If we can learn that language, even partially, we could form a bond." Lyra smiled faintly. "It's incredible. Even the smaller creatures watched us. They're teaching us without words." Elias looked out at the ridge, now hidden again by thick fog. Somewhere beyond, the creatures roamed, intelligent and aware. He felt a mix of awe and responsibility. Humanity had the chance to show its best qualities: courage, curiosity, respect, and perhaps, just perhaps, earn the trust of a world that had always seemed untouchable. And somewhere in the northern fog, golden eyes glimmered once more. Patient, watchful, and waiting for humans to prove they were worthy. The morning sun barely pierced the thick fog of the northern ridge, casting pale, shifting light across jagged rocks and alien vegetation. Captain Elias Thorne and Lyra returned cautiously, eager to continue their observation of the massive creatures. The previous encounters had left them awed, but now curiosity burned stronger than fear. Lyra adjusted her scanner, the device humming softly. "Captain, the energy readings are fluctuating again. Not aggressive, but complex. This isn't random. Behavior. They're thinking." Elias nodded, his eyes scanning the fog. "Intelligent behavior isn't just movement. It's reaction to our actions, our intentions. If we observe carefully, we can learn from them." They moved quietly, keeping to the edges of the ridge. The fog clung to the rocks like a soft blanket, muffling sound and making every step feel like an intrusion. In the distance, the massive creature appeared, golden eyes glowing faintly. Beside it, smaller ones moved gracefully, circling in patterns that seemed almost ritualistic. "They're organized," Lyra whispered. "They have a system, a hierarchy, perhaps a leader." Elias crouched slightly, speaking softly. "Then we watch. No sudden movements. Learn their signals before making contact." For nearly an hour they observed in silence. The creatures shifted and communicated with subtle gestures, a tilt of the head, a slow step forward, a flick of a claw. Elias noted the patterns carefully, matching them to Lyra's scanner readings. "They're responding to our presence differently today," Lyra said. "Yesterday they were cautious but reactive. Today they're testing, assessing our intentions." Elias exhaled slowly. "That's what intelligent life does. They're deciding if we're trustworthy." As they watched, a flash of light caught Lyra's attention. Carved into the rocks were strange markings, symbols and lines that glimmered faintly under the morning sun. She knelt, brushing the mist from the surface. "Captain, look at this," she whispered. "These markings. They're ancient. Someone or something created them long ago." Elias crouched beside her, examining the carvings. They were unlike any human writing he had seen. The lines were smooth and deliberate, almost alive in their design. Could these be connected to the creatures? Maybe they coexisted with humans. Or another species before we arrived? Lyra nodded, eyes wide. "It's possible, and if they did, these creatures might remember or sense a connection to those who created these markings. That could explain their behavior toward you yesterday. Something in your presence resonates with them." Elias thought carefully. "Then we must respect both the creatures and their history. If we act carelessly, we could destroy something irreplaceable." They spent the next hours observing, taking notes, and trying subtle communication. Elias extended a hand in a slow, non-threatening gesture. The largest creature tilted its head, eyes fixed on him. It moved closer, and for a brief moment, its massive paw hovered in the air as if weighing trust. "Captain, it's responding to gestures," Lyra whispered. "It understands intention without words. Your calmness and honesty, they recognize it." Elias nodded. "We continue with care. Patience will teach us more than force ever could." As the sun climbed higher, the fog thinned slightly, revealing more of the ridge. In the distance, Lyra spotted a series of smaller caves, partially hidden by rocky overhangs. The creatures moved toward them, scanning the surroundings as they went. "They're leading us somewhere," she said softly. "Or they want us to observe their home." Elias kept his eyes on the creatures. "We follow. At a safe distance. We learn. But we don't interfere. Respect their space." They moved quietly, shadows among shadows. The creatures paused at the cave entrances, seemingly exchanging signals with one another. Elias noticed a subtle hierarchy. The largest one led while the smaller ones flanked and supported it. Every movement was deliberate, precise, showing intelligence and discipline. "This is remarkable," Lyra whispered. "They're like a community, a family unit." And they've lived here undisturbed for centuries. That could explain the carvings. They may be guardians or descendants of the ancient civilization that created them. Elias considered the idea. Then understanding them isn't just about safety. It's about respect for a living history. We could learn how humans, and perhaps other species, once interacted with intelligent life here. Suddenly, a small movement caught Elias's. Just a young creature, smaller than the rest, hesitated at the edge of the ridge. Its eyes glowed with curiosity and caution. Elias motioned for Lyra to stay quiet. "Look at that," he whispered. "Even the youngest are observing. They learn behavior from the adults. This is teaching, training. They understand community and discipline." The young creature stepped closer, mimicking the gestures of the adult. Lyra's scanner beeped rapidly, recording energy patterns. "Captain, and they're learning from us, or at least evaluating how we respond. It's incredible. They're not just observing, they're studying us as much as we study them." Elias nodded slowly. "This is why humans can be remarkable. Curiosity, courage, and patience, traits we take for granted, can bridge worlds. If we approach carefully, we can communicate without words and build trust that lasts." Hours passed as they followed the creatures, observing rituals and behaviors. Elias realized that their society, though alien, mirrored human social structures in surprising ways. Leaders, caregivers, learners, and guards all coexisted in harmony. It was a balance of strength and respect, and it fascinated him. Lyra suddenly gasped softly. "Captain, the largest one is approaching the carvings. Look." The creature placed its massive paw gently on the rock surface, tracing the lines with deliberate care. Elias watched in awe. The carvings glowed faintly under its touch, responding to pressure or presence. It was as if the creature recognized history, and perhaps its own place in it. "This changes everything," Elias whispered. "They're aware of their past, and they understand humans' connection to it. That's why they reacted to me yesterday. Something in our species resonates with them." Lyra scribbled notes frantically. "We need to record this. The patterns, the carvings, the creature's behavior. It's like they're guardians of knowledge, of history." Elias nodded. "And if we respect them, they may allow us to learn more. But we must proceed carefully. Any misstep could break this fragile trust." As the day wore on, they observed how the creatures hunted, communicated, and interacted. Elias noted a profound intelligence in every movement, the way they coordinated, how they avoided unnecessary conflict, and how they protected the young and vulnerable. "They're not monsters," he said quietly. "They're guardians. They teach us that strength is not in violence, but in understanding, patience, and courage. Humanity can learn from them, and they may learn from us." Lyra smiled faintly, eyes bright with excitement. "Captain, even the smallest gestures matter. Every move we make is being read, understood, and remembered. They respect honesty and calmness. We could form a bond with them, maybe even help them protect their world from those who don't understand." Elias looked out over the ridge, feeling a mixture of awe and responsibility. The creatures had stepped back yesterday, testing him. Today they had led him to a deeper understanding of their world and their history. The bond was fragile but possible, built on respect, courage, and patience. As the sun began to set, the creatures returned to their caves, moving gracefully, silently, their golden eyes watching until the last light disappeared. Elias and Lyra retreated to the safety of the colony, their minds filled with wonder and plans. "We've learned so much," Lyra said, her voice soft. "But there's still more. They're intelligent, aware, and patient. If we continue, we could discover how humans and these creatures can coexist and how we can protect them." Elias nodded. "Yes, this is just the beginning. The ridge holds secrets we may never fully understand. But one thing is clear. Courage, patience, and respect can open doors that fear and violence never could. Humanity can be more than conquerors. We can be allies." That night, as the colony lights blinked softly against the darkening sky, Elias reflected on the ridge and the creatures he had met. The fog returned, thicker than before, hiding the caves and guardians within. But now he knew that behind the mist lay wisdom, intelligence, and the potential for understanding that spanned worlds. And somewhere in the northern fog, golden eyes glimmered once more, observing, waiting, and quietly assessing the humans who had dared to meet them not with weapons but with patience, honesty, and courage. Elias felt a surge of hope. This was the start of a journey where humanity could prove its best traits not just to itself, but to worlds that had never known human presence before. The creatures of the northern ridge were no longer threats. They were teachers. They were guardians. And if humanity approached with respect and wisdom, they could become allies in a world that had always seemed impossible to understand. The fog hung over the northern ridge like a silent guardian, but today it carried a different sense, one of anticipation. Captain Elias Thorne and Lyra approached the ridge cautiously, carrying supplies and equipment for observation, but also hoping to build trust with the creatures. The previous encounters had revealed intelligence and awareness beyond anything they had imagined, and now it was time to see if understanding could turn into alliance. "They're waiting," Lyra whispered as her scanner beeped, showing the familiar energy patterns. "The largest one, it's near the carvings again." Elias nodded. "Good. Today we observe and interact carefully. No sudden moves. Patience is our ally." The massive creature emerged from the mist first, golden, eyes gleaming softly. Behind it, smaller ones moved in formation, circling as if on patrol. Elias recognized the patterns immediately. They were the same disciplined gestures from before, confirming hierarchy and communication. Lyra adjusted her scanner. "They're reacting to us differently this time. More open, less cautious. Maybe they remember yesterday's interaction." Elias smiled faintly. "Then we continue with respect. Let them see we mean no harm." He stepped forward slowly, hand extended in a non-threatening gesture. The creature paused, head tilted, observing him. Lyra mirrored the gesture, holding her hand out gently, scanning and recording every subtle movement. The largest creature moved closer, its massive paw hovering near Elias's outstretched hand. Slowly, deliberately, it touched his palm. Elias felt the weight, the intelligence behind the action, and the careful consideration. It was a moment of trust, a bridge forming between human and creature. "Captain, they're testing us," Lyra whispered. "They're not just observing, they're learning, they're teaching too." "Every move we make is being noted," Elias nodded. "Then we respond with patience, honesty, and courage. That's the only way to earn trust." As the day progressed, the creatures allowed closer observation. Elias and Lyra watched their interactions, the way they communicated through subtle gestures, how they protected each other, and how the younger ones learned from the elders. It was a community built on respect, discipline, and understanding. "They're not monsters," Lyra said softly. "They're intelligent, organized, and aware. They could teach humans a lot about cooperation and loyalty." Elias agreed. And that's the point. Humanity often overlooks the value of respect and patience. But here, our best qualities, courage, honesty, curiosity, can form bonds that last. Hours passed and Lyra recorded every observation, every gesture, every pattern of behavior. Elias noticed something remarkable. The creatures recognized when humans acted selflessly or with calm intent. Even small gestures of care or protection were noticed and respected. "They respond to empathy," he said quietly. "They see beyond fear and aggression. They recognize understanding and courage." Suddenly, a distant sound echoed across the ridge, a loud mechanical roar that broke the calm. Lyra's eyes widened. "Captain, that's a human vessel. One of the rival mining factions. They must have detected the creatures and come to capture them." Elias's expression hardened. "Then we act. We protect them. They've trusted us, and we will not betray that trust." He motioned for Lyra to stay close. Together they moved toward the sound, keeping low and cautious. The creatures, sensing the tension, shifted slightly but did not flee. They had learned from observation. They trusted Elias to guide the humans without causing harm. The rival faction's shuttle appeared, a sleek metallic craft landing roughly on the ridge. Armed humans poured out, weapons aimed, clearly intending to capture the creatures for profit. Their movement was aggressive, chaotic, and uncoordinated, a stark contrast to the disciplined gestures of the Ridge Guardians. "Stay calm," Elias whispered. "We lead them. Fear will only provoke a fight." He stepped into the open, hands raised in a gesture of authority. "Stop. You cannot harm these creatures. They are intelligent, aware, and protected by their community. Any attack will not be tolerated." The rival humans laughed. "Protector, huh? They're just animals. We'll capture them and sell them. Nothing can stop us." Elias shook his head slowly. "You're wrong. They are not just animals. And they are not alone. Respect their intelligence, or face consequences you cannot imagine." From the fog, the largest creature emerged fully, its golden eyes fixed on the intruders. Smaller ones flanked it, forming a defensive formation. Their presence alone was enough to make the rival humans hesitate, but Elias's calm, steady stance and his commanding voice reinforced the warning. "Lyra," whispered Aud. "Captain, they're protecting you. They trust you enough to act." Elias nodded. "And we protect them in return. Courage and honesty are contagious. If we act with integrity, others will follow our example, even across species." The rival humans took a cautious step back, sensing the discipline and intelligence of the creatures. Their weapons trembled slightly in their hands, a mixture of fear and disbelief at the creature's silent command. Elias took a slow step forward. "Leave this place, respect life, and learn from it. Aggression is not strength. Patience, courage, and understanding are the true signs of power." The leader of the rival humans hesitated, then reluctantly signaled retreat. Their craft lifted awkwardly, leaving the ridge and its guardians behind. Elias exhaled slowly, relieved, but vigilant. The creatures lowered their stance, though their eyes remained watchful. They had observed human behavior, assessed the intentions, and responded accordingly. Trust had been tested and proven. Lyra approached Elias, her eyes wide, with amazement. "Captain, they understand what we've done. They're acknowledging us as allies. This is incredible. Even the young ones watched how you handled it." Elias smiled faintly. "Then we continue to build that trust. Respect, patience, courage, and honesty. Those are the tools we carry. And now they see that humans can embody those traits." The remainder of the day was spent reinforcing trust. Elias and Lyra provided food, guided the creatures to safer areas, and observed their behavior without interference. The creatures responded positively, allowing closer presence and even subtle gestures of communication, head tilts, paw placements, and careful movements that spoke volumes without sound. "They're teaching us," Lyra said softly. "Not just about their behavior, but about values. How strength without wisdom can be dangerous, how courage can protect, and how understanding builds bonds." Elias nodded. "And that's what humanity can show in return. We can be allies, not conquerors. We can learn, protect, and coexist. That's the essence of our best qualities." By evening, the creatures had led Elias and Lyra to a hidden clearing, a small sanctuary among the rocks. There they rested, their golden eyes watching silently, but with what seemed like satisfaction. Lyra's scanner recorded subtle energy, patterns showing a calm, stable state. "They trust us enough to bring us here," she whispered. "This is their home, and we are welcome." Elias looked around, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Then we honor it, protect it, learn from it, and ensure that humanity never breaks this fragile trust." That night, back at the colony, Elias and Lyra documented everything: the behavior, the patterns, the gestures, the energy readings. They planned strategies to continue the alliance, ensuring the creature's protection while maintaining human safety. "Captain, this changes everything," Lyra said quietly. "We can show the galaxy that humans can be allies, not just conquerors." That we can respect intelligent life and build bonds. Elias smiled. Yes. And this is just the beginning. The creatures of the Northern Ridge have shown us what's possible. Trust, cooperation, and understanding. If humanity rises to the challenge, we can achieve something extraordinary here. Outside, the fog moved gently over the ridge, hiding the creatures in their sanctuary. But now, Elias knew they were not threats. They were allies, guardians, and teachers. Humanity had the chance to prove its best qualities: courage, honesty, curiosity, and respect. And somewhere in the northern fog, golden eyes glimmered once more, patient, watchful, and acknowledging that humans, at their best, could be worthy companions. Elias felt hope for the first time in a long while. This alliance was fragile, yet it was real. Humanity could show the galaxy that strength was not measured in weapons but in courage, wisdom, and the ability to respect life, even life very different from its own. And with that, the fog shifted, hiding the creatures once more, leaving the ridge calm but alive, a sanctuary for the guardians and a place where humans could prove they were more than conquerors. They could be allies. The morning sun broke through the fog over the northern ridge, spilling warm light across jagged rocks and alien vegetation. Captain Elias Thorne and Lyra stood quietly at the edge of the colony, looking toward the sanctuary of the creatures they had come to respect and understand. The past days had been intense, full of observation, learning, and cautious interaction. They had gained the trust of the Ridge Guardians, and now it was time to ensure that trust endured. Elias knew the importance of protecting not just the creatures, but also the fragile alliance humanity had begun to form. "They're waiting," Lyra said softly, pointing toward the clearing where the largest creature often rested. The golden eyes, they're calm, but attentive. Elias nodded. Good. Calmness shows respect. Patience has its reward. They moved slowly, deliberately, keeping their presence non-threatening. The largest creature emerged first, followed by the smaller ones. Their eyes glimmered golden in the early light, and Elias felt the weight of awareness and intelligence in every glance. Lyra whispered, "Captain, it's like they know we're here to protect them, not harm them. They trust us now." Elias gave a small smile. "Then we honor that trust. That is what it means to be human at our best, honest, brave, and respectful." The creatures moved with elegance and grace, circling them as if performing a ritual of acknowledgement. The largest one lowered its massive head, meeting Elias's eyes directly. Lyra noticed a subtle shift in its stance, a gesture of recognition that went beyond instinct. This was understanding and perhaps even respect. For a long moment, Elias held its gaze. He thought of humanity's potential, the courage, curiosity, and wisdom that had carried them across the stars. Here, on this distant planet, those qualities were being reflected back at him in golden eyes. "Captain, they're showing us something," Lyra said quietly. "They're teaching us about balance, strength tempered with patience, courage guided by respect." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes, and we need to share that lesson. Not just here, but across the galaxy. Humanity can be more than conquerors. We can be allies, protectors, and learners." The creatures' movements grew, slower, more deliberate. The younger ones approached cautiously, mimicking the gestures of the adults. Lyra knelt slightly, extending a hand in the same calm, honest manner she had practiced. The young ones touched her hand softly, their curiosity and intelligence evident. "They're teaching the young as well," she whispered. "Even their children learn to respect, to observe, to understand. It's a community built on knowledge and care." Elias looked around, absorbing the sight. The creature's sanctuary was a testament to balance, discipline, and harmony. Humanity had a chance to join that balance not by force but by embodying the qualities that inspired trust. Suddenly, a signal came from the colony, a warning. A rival human faction had detected the creature's presence again and was preparing to send another team. Elias's jaw tightened. He knew they could not allow this. "We act," he said firmly, "but carefully. We cannot provoke the creatures, or endanger them. Our job is to protect, not fight recklessly." Lyra nodded. "The creatures trust us to defend them. They're aware of the threat, but they remain calm because we are here." Elias led the way, moving toward the ridge where the rival team would land. The fog swirled around them, hiding their movements, but the creatures followed, flanking them with silent vigilance. When the rival humans arrived, their weapons drawn, Elias stepped into the clearing, his presence calm but commanding. "Stop. You have no right to harm these creatures. They are intelligent, aware, and protected. Leave now or face consequences you cannot control." The rival leader laughed, dismissing the warning. "Protector, huh? They're just beasts. We'll take them anyway. Nothing can stop us." Elias's voice remained steady. "You are wrong. They are not beasts. They are sentient. They recognize honesty and courage. You have neither." From the fog, the largest creature emerged fully, flanked by the smaller ones. Their golden eyes glimmered, and their stance radiated authority and intelligence. The rival humans hesitated, suddenly aware of the discipline and awareness in the creature's movements. "They're with you," the rival leader said, disbelief creeping into his voice. "How?" Elias held his ground. "They trust us because we show respect, courage, and patience. You have ignored these qualities, and that is why you are alone here. Leave peacefully, or face what you cannot control." The rival team faltered. One by one, they lowered their weapons, realizing that the creatures were not mindless monsters, but guardians of their world, intelligent and aware enough to act decisively if provoked. Reluctantly, they retreated, their craft lifting awkwardly from the ridge. Elias exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. The creatures remained calm, observing the humans' departure but not pursuing. They had learned that Elias and Lyra were allies, capable of protection and understanding. Lyra turned to Elias, eyes wide. "Captain, they trusted you, and we protected them. This is extraordinary. We've proven that humans can earn trust across worlds." Elias nodded, a small smile on his face. "Yes. Courage, honesty, patience, and respect. They are our tools, and we've shown that humanity can embody these qualities. This is the start of something bigger." The creatures led them back to the clearing where they allowed close observation once more. Lyra recorded everything: the gestures, the energy patterns, the behaviors. Each note was a lesson, a record of intelligence and awareness beyond human understanding. "They're teaching us without words," Lyra said softly. "They show that strength is not in violence, but in balance, courage, and respect. Humanity can learn that lesson, and so can the galaxy." Elias looked out over the ridge, absorbing the beauty and discipline of the creature's world. The carvings in the rocks glimmered faintly in the morning sun, reminders of an ancient history that connected life across time. Humanity had a chance to be part of that connection, not as conquerors but as allies and learners. As the sun rose higher, Lyra suggested they return to the colony to share their findings. Elias agreed. "But we must ensure the creature's sanctuary remains protected. Not all humans will understand or respect what we've learned here. That is our responsibility." Back at the colony, they presented their observations to the leadership and scientists. Lyra's detailed recordings, Elias's eyewitness account, and the clear intelligence of the creatures left everyone in awe. Plans were made to protect the ridge, restrict access, and study the creatures respectfully. "This is a turning point," Lyra said quietly as they reviewed the data together. "The galaxy may never see anything like this again. Humans can show their best qualities: courage, honesty, respect, and be rewarded with trust and alliance." Elias nodded. "And that's the legacy we leave here. Not conquest but understanding, not fear but trust. Humanity at its best can bridge worlds, protect life, and honor intelligence wherever it is found." The creatures of the northern ridge remained silent guardians, their golden eyes watching, patient and aware. They had recognized the courage and respect in Elias and Lyra, and in doing so, they had accepted humanity as a worthy ally. As night fell over the colony, the fog returned, thick and mysterious. Yet it no longer felt threatening. It was a veil of safety, a barrier preserving the sanctuary of the Ridge Guardians. Elias and Lyra stood together, looking out into the mist, feeling the weight of responsibility and the thrill of accomplishment. "They trust us," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with awe. "And we've shown that humans can be more than conquerors. We can be allies, protectors, and learners." Elias nodded, a quiet pride in his expression. "Yes, this is humanity at its best. Courage, honesty, patience, respect. They are the traits that define us. And here we've proven them worthy across worlds." Somewhere in the fog, golden eyes glimmered once more, observing, patient, and acknowledging the humans who had dared to meet them not with weapons, but with understanding. The creatures remained guardians, teachers, and allies, a bridge between worlds. Elias and Lyra left the northern ridge that night with hearts full of hope. The creatures had shown them that intelligence, courage, and respect could form bonds that lasted across species. Humanity had the chance to prove its best qualities, not just to itself, but to the galaxy. And so, the northern ridge remained a place of wonder, a sanctuary of wisdom and guardianship, where humans and creatures could coexist in trust and respect. Humanity had earned a place not as conquerors but as allies, and in doing so had created a legacy that would last for generations. The golden eyes glimmered one last time in the fading light, a silent acknowledgement of courage, respect, and understanding. The creatures, the ridge, and humanity had found harmony, a testament to what could be achieved when the best qualities of a species were allowed to shine. And in that moment, Elias knew the truth. Humanity's future among the stars depended, not on power or dominance, but on courage, wisdom, and the ability to honor life wherever it was found.